Come on. Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
All right. Once again, we are on. I am the Mojo King. He is the great Donnie Oooh, and this is Hidden Gems Football. We're previewing the conference championships. Let's figure out who's making it to the Super Bowl. Donnie Oooh, how are you?
Doing pretty good, Mo. I can't complain. I mean, my pockets ain't doing great, but that's par for the course at this time, right? But besides that, I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Mo?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm well rested for once, mostly because I got to sleep through all of Buffalo and Dallas's offensive possessions. Nothing to see there.
At all. At all.
All right. Anyway, let's get into it. All right, first game up. We have San Francisco 49ers going to Philadelphia to face the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia is a 2.5-point favorite. The total is projected at 46.5 points. That means if you listen to Vegas, the score will be the 49ers 22, the Philadelphia Eagles 24.5. Now, as far as injuries, all significant, even though I'm not sure that they're going to matter in the game because I think everybody's playing. But the Philadelphia Eagles, they have wide receiver A.J. Brown has a hip injury and is questionable. And on San Francisco side, their running backs are banged up. Christian McCaffrey is questionable with a calf injury. They showed him flexing it during the game last week. And Elijah Mitchell, who got most of the carries that McCaffrey didn't, is also suffering through a groin injury and also questionable. All right, Donnie, what do you have in this game?
I don't know what's going on with these calf and groin injuries. I think people are doing a little bit too much celebration, but I digress. The 49ers. I'm going to start with the 49ers because, guess what? I got my trusty notes. Do you know Brock Purdy is only the third rookie quarterback to win 2 playoff games in his first postseason? Interesting enough, I always got to bring it full circle to my JETS Jets. The last quarterback to achieve that feat was the Sanchez himself, Mr. Butt Fumble, Mark Sanchez. Christian McCaffrey, like you said, he's recovering off a calf injury, but he should play. He's currently averaging 77 yards rushing in the postseason. The 49ers, after going through the regular season as the number 1 defense points allowed, I believe it's 16.3 points per game allowed. Guess what? In the postseason, pretty much on par. They're allowing 17.5 points a game in the postseason. Now, they also was 7th in sacks with 44. And the reason I bring that up is because the team that they're going against, the Philadelphia Eagles, is number 1 in sacks with 69 during the regular season. Now, the Eagles are fresh off their little dominating victory against the G-Men. And they're primed and ready for their second Super Bowl appearance in the last 5 to 6 years. Has it been 5 years already? Yeah, I think it has. Their defense has pressured their opponents throughout the season, like I said, to the tune of 69 sacks, led by their front 4, who all achieved double-digit sacks, led by Hassan Reddick with 16 sacks. Now, with all that being said, I believe Eagles go as far as Shamar Moore Jr. go, a.k.a. Jalen Hurts. Now, there's something that's calling me, and I can't put my finger on it. As everybody knows, that I picked the NFC representative to be the 49ers. And the last 2 games, the game against Seattle and the game against Dallas, their defense really, to me, hasn't done anything to dissuade me from that prediction. The one thing that still might rear its ugly head is rookie Brock Purdy. Because there's a lot of times he settles himself down, but there's a lot of times that even the commentators have said he's more successful when he actually steps into the pocket on a passing play. And either he can get that late read or he can find a lane to scramble for a couple yards. What's been discerning to me over the last couple games is the tendency to float back into the pocket and pretty much cut off the field because he's always running or scrambling to the sideline. And on multiple occasions, I think there was one in particular, George Kittle, and he's very, very seldom is he demonstrative on the field. He doesn't really show up his teammates. And I don't believe he was really trying to show up his quarterback. But there was one time that Brock, let's say, rolled to his left. But if he would have stayed in his pocket and kept the reads and tried to be a little bit more patient, Kittle was wide open. And Kittle was jumping up and down like, dude, I'm right here. So with the pressure that we expect Philly to bring, and remember, Philly is the home team, not San Francisco. So this is really going to be Brock Purdy's first road playoff game. And we've seen the last two games, he's been kind of jittery. I'm hoping that he'll be able to calm down and it won't cost him the game. But in a game like this, it's going to be nip and tuck. It just takes one mistake. It takes one mistake. And that's what I'm concerned about right now. Mo, do you have anything to add on that?
Well, the Purdy thing, I think you make a couple of good points. With me, my problem with him is his tendency to, like you mentioned, to roll out in the scramble. He always rolls to his left. He's a right-handed quarterback. That limits how you can throw unless you're somebody like Pat Mahomes, with a healthy ankle, of course. But outside of Pat Mahomes and maybe Aaron Rodgers, that's just not a good idea to be rolling the opposite way. Kittle was open on the right side of the field. I'm actually kind of glad Purdy didn't make that throw because I don't think he has the ability to make it. But I actually will say that I was more impressed with him this week than I was the previous week. Kyle Shanahan really tightened the reins and didn't give him as much room to really do things. But when he had to make the throw, especially short, precise throws, he made them perfectly. You know, a lot of first downs they got with just precision throws. And I was really impressed by the rookie in that. The whole game plan was kind of threw me off, though, because since Purdy's been there, Shanahan's kind of let him go at it. And this was the first time he really held him back and was like, all right, we're going to do a ground, short pass, and don't do anything. Just don't mess it up. Rolling into this game, I would assume that they do the same thing with Philadelphia. As you mentioned, Philadelphia is number one as far as sacks. They're also ranked number one as far as pass defense for the season. It looks to me that San Francisco is going to have to run the ball a lot. I think Purdy's going to be back into his game management role, kind of. And Philly's weakness, if there is a weakness, their defense is against the run. They were 16th, so they were right in the middle. San Francisco was 8th as far as rushing. That ties back into these injuries. McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, if they're both really banged up, I don't know. If San Francisco can't run, I think they're done. But McCaffrey was playing the whole game. He looked fine when he was on the field. When he go off the field, he go stretch his calf. Mitchell, I don't know when he got hurt. He looked fine while he was playing. He played towards the end of the game. He had, that big run, and then he ran out of bounds and everybody. But he looked healthy there. I kind of think that these injuries aren't anything major, but if they are, it's going to be a problem. As far as Philadelphia goes, it's kind of interesting. A.J. Brown, they say he's questionable with a hip injury. Some of that makes sense because he only was 3 for 3 catches, 22 yards last week. Now, you remember they pulled their offense kind of early because the Giants just did nothing and they were up big. And A.J. Brown, everybody assumed that he was angry on the sidelines because he got pulled from the game. But what if he was angry because he was hurt? Again, this injury is big because if A.J. Brown is a key to their offense, as much as I think Jalen Hurts is amazing, I think his running side is still above his throwing side. Like, I trust that more. If he doesn't have his premier catcher to get out there and get open, I still have to wonder about him. This game has a lot of questions for me. These injuries are pretty big. And like I think you mentioned, Jalen Hurts, we're not 100% sure his shoulder's all right. All right, I'm going to kick it back to you. We have Philadelphia 2.5-point favorites. The total is 46.5. What's your picks?
Well, I'll give you my picks first, and then then I have something to add. I'm going to ride with San Francisco because that's who I picked. And sure, that's pretty much my only team left for my predictions. I personally feel that San Francisco, if they play up to standards, to me, is a better team. So I will go San Francisco straight up. I'll go San Francisco straight up. As for the over-under, I could see that being under because these are two staunch defenses. Like, I'm quite sure a lot of people felt last week that San Francisco and Dallas, that was going to go over. And shoot, it was a field goal contest between those two. I'm not saying it's going to be so much a field goal contest between these two, but they're not going to give up touchdowns right and left. So I would go with the under. The one thing I do want to add with Jalen Hurts, like you said, there's a question on whether he's really 100% or not, because it's kind of hard to gauge what he really was able to take based on his competition last week. Like, he wasn't forced to run. To me, he's going to be forced to run and put in the harm's way. Like you said, A.J. Brown is dealing with a hip injury. We don't know how effective he's going to be. Without A.J. Brown, then the defense is going to be able to focus on Devontae Smith, which will be, and that'll put him to the test because they won't be able to run as freely as they've been accustomed to doing. And like you said, Jalen Hurts. I don't think of basketball all the time. Jalen Hurts is still more effective when he has the threat of the run. He's more effective with his legs than his arm. He's what's going to improve leaps and bounds over how he was last year with the throwing, but still, he needs that threat of the run. And to me, with the 49ers secondary led by Ward and Gibson, going to make things interesting. And just like we talked about Philly with their pressure, personal views aside, Mr. Bosa with 18.5 sacks is a beast. And he's not going to have all day in that pocket to throw. That's going to force him to scramble. How well he's going to be able to take a hit. So all those things combined, 49ers for the win.
All right. And you said the under too?
Yeah, and the under.
I think I'm going to have to agree with you on both of them. Like I was alluding to earlier, I think a lot of it's going to have to deal with the philosophy of how the coaches approach it. In particular, how the 49ers and Shanahan approach it. I'm going to go with the idea that all those players that I mentioned are going to be relatively healthy. For me, when it comes down to it, San Francisco's defense, their biggest flaw is against the pass, while Philadelphia's defense, their problem is against the run. I like San Francisco's run more than I like Philadelphia's pass offense. And for that, I'm going to take the 49ers and the under. Figure it's going to be a grind out game. I think the 49ers are going to play for a close game. That's what they're going to intend for it to be. And then either make the big play at the end of the game or get the big turnover at the end of the game.
I agree. And I don't know, there's something about Nick Sirianni. There's something very unlikable about him. I can't put my finger on it. And like I said, I really have no dog in the race, as in like why I really don't like the Eagles, even though their fans have been very obnoxious. But yeah, it's something about Sirianni. I don't know. I really want him to get his comeuppance. So yeah, that's just extra salt.
You always got to go after somebody, buddy.
Yeah, sure. Hey, that's what Donnie Oooh does for a limited time only.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's Ricky from Late Night Lake Show. A new NBA season has arrived, and there's no better time to be following the brand. From weekly podcasts and live streams featuring some of the biggest names in the NBA social world to viral Twitter spaces and engaging articles. If you bleed purple and gold and love good content, then Late Night Lake Show is the brand for you. Follow us on Twitter at Late Night Lakers and on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or wherever you get your podcast at Late Night Lake Show. It's premium Lakers content brought to you by some of your favorite and best personalities in Laker Nation. It's about to be another crazy season this year, but one thing is for certain. If it's happening and involving our Los Angeles Lakers, Late Night Lake Show is going to be covering. So come check us out. We'll see y'all on the timeline. Peace.
All right. Let's get into the next game. We have the AFC Championship. That will be the Cincinnati Bengals. They will be going to Kansas City to face the Kansas City Chiefs. The Bengals are a 1.5 favorites. The total is expected to be 46.5 points. That means if you believe in Vegas, the Bengals will score 24 points. The Chiefs will score 22.5 points. As far as injury goes, Cincinnati is pretty healthy, but they do have one major injury. Cornerback Trey Flowers, he has a hamstring injury. He's listed as questionable. He did not play last week. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, we have wide receiver McCole Harmon, who has a pelvis injury. He did not play last week. We're going to see if he comes back this week. And of course, the big one, Patrick Mahomes has a high ankle sprain. I would say it's pretty clear since he played last week, he's playing this week. But what percentage are we getting? All right, Donnie, what do you see in this game?
Do we know at the time of this recording whether or not Cincinnati's offensive line is going to be in full effect, or they're still missing pieces?
I do not know. That's the easy way to put it. We're going to have to see closer to game time.
All right. Cool beans. These two teams, the Chiefs and the Bengals, meet for the second consecutive year in the AFC title game. There's so many narratives that's going on, but I will get to the narratives later on. But the Chiefs have lost 3 straight to the Bengals in a calendar year. This will be their fourth matchup in a calendar year. Last year in the championship game, the Bengals came back from an 11-point deficit in the second half, holding the potent Kansas City offense to 3 points the rest of the game, including overtime. The Cincinnati Bengals, to me, have a knack playing the game. I won't say haphazardly, but they play it with a certain precision that you're not used to seeing from anybody in a Bengals uniform. They've been the more calm team. Last week against the Bills, right? You had all the histrionics on the sideline of the Bills, with Stephon Diggs and company just being frustrated. They have the knack for getting under the skin of their opponent, especially Eli Apple, I can't stand Eli Apple from the days of the Giants, but it's something about that team that they hold their composure. There we go. They hold their composure very well. And I guess that has to be led by Joe Burrow. I have to admit, Joe Burrow, and I'm going to borrow this line from Tyler McDowell of Gimmick Infringement, Joey Smokes, have proved me wrong in the way that he's been successful while missing 3/5 of his offensive line. Part of that was the asinine game plan from the Bills of not rushing or not showing pressure, but it's also due to the fact of the calmness under pressure of Joe Burrow. Joe Mixon is coming off a 100-yard rushing game in the snow on the road, which to me was as impressive as well. Now, flipping on the other side with Kansas City, as we mentioned, Patrick Mahomes is dealing with a high ankle sprain. How mobile is he going to be this week? I'm quite sure that will be tested. The Chiefs, to me, to be successful in this game, need to lean on their running game. Big time. You have the pieces. You have McKinnon. You have Isaac Pacheco. And various others. I'm quite sure they'll try some type of jet sweeps with Juju Schuster, or the quick passing game with Kelsey. Because to me, like I've said before, this team goes as well as Kelsey goes. And there's one stat in particular for those who are interested in prop bets. Since week 10, Isaiah Pacheco has only had one game in which he's rushed for under 50 yards. So if you get that prop bet, I would jump on that because, like I said, they need to lean on their running game to be successful. But to bottom line all this, I'm going to go by the lower averages. As much as I want to go with my head and know that Cincinnati probably should get to the Super Bowl, I just can't see them beating Patrick Mahomes 4 straight times, hobbled or not. So once again, against my better judgment, I'm going to go Kansas City against the spread. Yeah, I'm hedging my bet. Kansas City against spread, and I'm going under.
All right. There's a lot to tackle there. I think, first of all, I know we mentioned we're not going to talk about the past, but I do want to mention that last Bengals game, the Bengals-Bills game, because that game confused me so much. First of all, everything the Bengals did, there's nothing to take away from that other than that they did everything precise. The Bills are what confused me because it was on the snow, right? It looked like the Bengals were playing with cleats on and the Bills were playing with regular sneakers on because it was insane how open receivers were in the zone. It was like the Bills could not get there to cover them. You know, they temporarily switched the man and stopped the Bengals, and it went back to zone and got destroyed again. The Bengals over the season were 29th in rushing. That's with their original starting line. How did they run the Bulls over last week? Mixon was amazing, but those holes were incredible. I don't understand what was going on. And then on defense, the Bengals looked amazing again and were killing Buffalo. But what was Josh Allen doing? What was the whole plan there? Because there was nothing. There was nothing. They didn't run much. Josh Allen didn't run at all. They barely threw deep. Diggs, like I understood why he was upset. I don't like demonstrative receivers like that. To me, they're showing up their quarterback. I don't like it. But Diggs was mad from the first drive, and I don't understand what's going on. It was almost like he was like, "You mofos are trying to throw this game, and I know it." And that's what it felt like. So I don't know quite what to make out of that game. Because honestly, if the Bills seem like the normal Bills and the Bengals played like that anyway, I would say the Bengals are the favorites this week. They're the favorite in the Super Bowl too. They're the favorite next season because what they did was unbelievable. They dominated that game. I just have a problem accepting what happened. Matchup-wise, Kansas City is number 1 ranked offense for the season, passing offense for the season. The Bengals defense, 23rd. Trey Flowers is one of their starting quarterbacks. He's probably out. Eli Apple is mediocre.
At best.
That's exactly what his mouth is next tier.
Yeah.
On the field, he's mediocre. He's always been at his best when he's the second cornerback. And there's an alpha male on the other side.
Got the best mouth in the division.
Got one of the best mouths in the league. The way this guy talks is unbelievable. But it seemed like the Bills should have shut him up. They did nothing.
No, because their holes are so big.
So will Mahomes shut them up? Well, I don't know because they don't really have the receivers that really should shut up anybody, honestly. I don't think the Bengals are going to be able to run it on Kansas City. I don't understand what that was last week. If the Bengals could do that again, they're blowing Kansas City out, I feel like. But I don't think they're going to do that. The question then becomes, how good can Mahomes be? He has a high ankle sprain. He's not going to recover from that in a week. He's one wrong hit from being out for the game and possibly in much longer. A lot of this seems to me like the Bengals are going to win. Like you mentioned, though, it's just hard to bet against Mahomes. So what I'm actually going to do the same thing you did. I'm taking Kansas City. Only because they're underdogs. I actually would take any underdog in this game because I think this game is a pick'em. I have no idea who's going to win. As for the over-under, I'm going to assume Mahomes is healthy enough to throw the ball around a little bit, and I'm going to go over. Matter of fact, that is probably the thing I'm leaning on the most. Last week, I did pretty good on my picks, but the one thing I said was definitely going to happen, it was the one thing that did not happen, which was San Francisco going over. Okay. So take that as you will. As I say, I'm pretty confident this game is going over. You can go with me if you want to, but that's what I'm looking at. All right, I have one quick question for you, Donnie. Joe Burrow. People are talking about him now as the best quarterback in the league and potentially one of the all-time greats. I'm hearing a name that he's being compared to, which is just insane when he has won nothing. So I'm not even going to mention the name he's being compared to. What's your take on Mr. Burrow? Is he the next big thing in the NFL? Are we watching the next man?
I'm gonna lay down these facts. Joe Burrow has 5 playoff wins already, the most in franchise history. But all I've heard is, like you said, Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the league. He's already surpassed Mahomes, and I think it's so fascinating that the media is dealing with recency bias. Yes, Burrow's team, emphasis on team, has bested Patrick Mahomes' team the last 3 matchups. But Pat Mahomes is still a bad man. There's no slight on Burrow. Like, Burrow, from the time he came into the league, matter of fact, from LSU, the time he came into the league, had the knee injury, catastrophic. But even before that, he was putting up numbers. They just didn't have a team around him. So there's no slight to him whatsoever. But the media at large needs to pump the brakes and calm down. If you really dissect things, to me, and this might not be popular opinion, but to me, Cincinnati actually has the better overall skill players. To me, it's damn near, outside of the quarterbacks, it's 4-1. You have Joe Mixon, who's a better running back than anybody on Kansas City. You have Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Chase. Look at the receiving core of Kansas City. The receivers, not even counting Kelsey. You have Juju Smith-Schuster. Okay, he's had a resurgent year. McCole Hardman? Oh, he's disappointed. And there's a whole bunch of other nondescript people that's on that team, right? So you count Kelsey. Kelsey on Kansas City. 4 skill players on Cincinnati. Like, they should have won these games. If you look at everything in totality, people get caught up in the now, but they overlook the entirety of the whole picture. If anything, these 3 matchups has shown is the greatness of Pat Mahomes. Like, if you're pretty much outmanned and you're based on scheme, coaching, and pure talent of himself, and he's gotten this team back to the championship game after losing one of their big parts in Tyreek Hill. People forget about that. Because everything, which got at the beginning of the year, when they was more methodical, oh, they missed Tyreek. They're not explosive. They missed Tyreek. It's even come out my mouth. Plenty of times I've said, look, they're not that explosive, so they don't blow teams out, but they've gotten them back to this point. Like, everything that they've done since they've been in contention, they've overhauled the offensive line. They've overhauled the offense around Mahomes. And yet they've still reached the championship game. Like, he's truly the MVP of this team. And I believe he should be the MVP of this season, of the whole league. You know, so Joe Burrow, for what he has done, is great. But, like you said, he has not won anything yet. He beats Pat Mahomes, right? So that's 4-0 Pat Mahomes. And then he goes to the Super Bowl and he wins. Maybe we can revisit this debate. But as of now, that old saying, you come at the king, you bet not miss. Right now, no matter how hobbled Mahomes is, no matter how many shots he's taken over the last three matchups, Mahomes is still the king. And I got one other thing, and not to try to be too long-winded. This would be Andy Reid's 10th championship game appearance. He had 5 when he was in Philadelphia. He has 5 now. Not counting this one, it'd be 9. He is 3-6 in championship games. Truth be told, the Super Bowl that they won, if Jimmy G floats that ball to Emmanuel Sanders, we're still talking about Andy Reid not winning a Super Bowl in all these 20 years of coaching. That's not a slight on his coaching ability. But that, to me, that even puts more the reason why respect needs to be put on Mahomes' name.
When we talk about Patrick Mahomes, and I think I mentioned to you this off air, is that I think Mahomes is a generational talent. You are not going to see that happen too often, the things that he can do. It's going to be real interesting to see what he does this week because he can't scramble and make those miraculous plays running around. At least I don't think. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does this week.
I agree.
All right, Donnie, we've rambled enough. Tell the people what they need to know.
Okay. I have a couple things I want to say. First and foremost, please check out our good brothers from West Coast, from Arizona, Winchester and McDowell from Gimmick Infringement. Also, they're available on the 19 Media Group YouTube page and on all streaming platforms wherever podcasts are available. Check them out. This week, I believe they're having a preview of The Bachelor, which is Tyler's favorite. And I think they have a Bachelor Fantasy Draft, which is one for the ages. Check them out. Check out myself at Salty Thoughts of Donnie Oooh podcast, available on Spotify, Apple, Anchor.fm. We are on the road to episode 150. Please please join me, and you will know why we're on the road to 150 because there's big changes coming on. And lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to my people at the Black Wrestling Podcast. They've really supported me in ways that I was actually very touched about. So I just wanted to give this opportunity on video to give them a shout out. Good looking Cal, Fam, Homie Math, Drip, and Mimi. So salute to y'all. And so I think this is the time to wrap it up.
Oh, wait. I do have one thing.
Okay.
Hidden Gems Golf, the tournaments usually start on Thursday. It will be episode number 50. And combining with what you're saying, I might have a special tribute for the Gimmick Infringement podcast on my episode.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, Tyler. It's coming.
You know there's going to be a screenshot, right?
Absolutely. All right, let's get out of here.
All right. Yeah. Hidden Gems Football. It's a part of the 19 Media Group. Goodbye. Bye. Sorry, babe.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
Nah, man, I ain't watch that.
You didn't watch that?
Nah.
Look, I've been with my wife going on. Matter of fact, next month will be 24 years married, and we've been together damn near 30 years. So there's a lot of things that I probably watched that I probably wouldn't watch it myself. But shoot, you'd be surprised at the stuff that you get entertained by watching stuff with your wife. So yeah, shoot, you can put this in. I don't care. I used to watch Housewives of Atlanta. Not only that, Housewives of New Jersey. And I actually Housewives of the Potomac was kind of corny. But yeah, I watched all those. And there was there was a show that used to come on the Style Network called Jerseylicious. My son, I think at the time he was maybe about 10, and he saw me watching it. I was catching up because I missed the episode. And he was like, "Dad, what's that?" I'm like, "It's Jerseylicious." "Dad, how you watching something called Jerseylicious?" I'm like, "It's funny." I'm so comfortable with myself that you can put that in the outtake. Yeah, Donnie Oooh was a fan of Housewives, Bring It On, Pitch Perfect, and Jerseylicious. Sue me.
And now I know why you're getting rid of your name.
Yeah.
Don't need any evidence of that.
Nope. You're going to go right back in the closet.
In the closet.